Welcome to the Aligned Entrepreneur. Jeff Palmer here, and today I have with me Amr Alian of Synergy Consultants. So I've been working with Amr for almost a decade now, and he has been my trusted advisor on taking control of our finances, setting up legal structures for our practice, and basically introducing me to dozens of professionals that have really impacted my business in a positive way. And also, he's introduced me to a lot of dentists and other professionals that I've been able to help from a consulting and coaching standpoint. So we've had a very robust relationship over the past decade. So today we're going to take a really deep dive into the real cost of overhead, because this is a big item right now for dentists and I think all businesses, and where most practices overspend, how to build long-term value for your practice. It's about beginning with the end in mind, doing things intentionally, which is what being aligned is all about. We're going to talk about staff compensation, marketing, mistakes that silently drain your profits. And this conversation is going to be packed with just practical financial wisdom for entrepreneurs of all type, not just dentists. So welcome, Amr, and thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for being a great friend. And it has been, as you said, a decade, but I feel like we started yesterday.
Yeah.
Uh, so I had the privilege to work with many dentists in the dental space. And when I met you through, I think, one of our common friends, I found out that you share the same um, background where you're trying to help dentists as well, trying to build up your own organization. And I think that helped that we have the same way of thinking, the same way of strategy. We believe on having the dentist become like a CEO versus being a provider.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for having me today. And I hope I'm gonna shed, some light about the questions that you're gonna ask me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah. So, and I've never asked you this question, so I'm curious. How did you get into working with dentists, and how did you get into Synergy Consultants?
Luck. Uh, Trust me, I swear it's luck. I think I'm a lucky person.
Yeah, I think you are.
I am. I am lucky from all means. So I came to the US for my MBA. It was my dream to work in the investment side.
Mm.
It was my dream to be on the Wall Street as any kid. So I came to the US with a dream to be on the Wall Street. I got my MBA in finance and investment. And then another luck put me through an investment gig, running an investment company, like being an analyst in an investment company for a couple of
Mm.
years. And then, as a young 26 years old, I'm trying to find my way around. I was hired by one of the top consulting firms in the country that provided consulting to CFOs and treasury uh, uh, professionals in corporate, like in Fortune 50. So I was lucky to be in a room with big names and big people that you see them coming on Bloomberg and CNBC speaking about the market and speaking about the
Mm.
financials. And I found myself, I'm in a position that I'm part of the team who's going to be providing them with consulting or providing them with a solution. So this gig helped me to learn how can I think outside the box, how can I troubleshoot problems, how can I differentiate business from each other. And then I followed after this job to work with a Fortune 50 company running their $8 billion operation as a regional financial manager.
Mm.
Um, and in that position, they asked me to take the CPA. I wasn't a CPA guy. I wasn't
Mm.
planning to become a CPA. Actually, I have a CPA who used to file my taxes. So I used to pay somebody to file my taxes. And
Yeah.
uh, this company was all state. And they told me, Amr, there is a pool of 4 people that we chose from the whole country, the whole like national, that work for all state, that we're going to put them on the path to become a corporate CFO. And to become a corporate CFO for all state, you need to have CPA because of Sarbanes-Oxley. Because after what happened with Enron, they came up with the SOX where they said no CFO for any public company unless he or she has a CPA.
Mm.
They asked me, if you want to get promoted, get your CPA in order for you to move to the corporate office in Illinois. Short, you know, just to make it short, I took the CPA, I passed, and my wife didn't accept us moving to Illinois because it's cold.
I was gonna say, I know where that office is.
Yeah.
I know where
So,
that office is off of
so I
294.
decided
Yeah.
quitting and joining Northrop Grumman. Um, Again, luck played a big role in this. So Northrop Grumman headquarters was in California. They moved it to Fairfax, Virginia. So a lot of middle manager and executive decided to not to move. So there's a lot of vacancies happened. They hired me to become part of the financial team. I was reporting to the corporate CFO, leading their M&A team and the internal intelligence to come up with a scorecard that we're going to talk about later on for the dental offices. So
Mm.
I came to build up a scorecard for Northrop Grumman to position them against the competitors in the market from Lockheed Martin, General Dynamics, Boeing, you just name it. So my job is to provide those KPIs and performance report to the CFO and to the board of directors.
Gotcha.
But I have a CPA.
Yeah.
So I play soccer, as you know,
Yeah.
and I met a couple of Egyptians who play soccer and friends who are dentists. And they start asking me questions about the dental work. How can they buy offices? Valuation, because once you say my background is finance and investment and whatever, people will ask you, it's like, like, so you have in your surgeon doctor in your family, but you're gonna go ask him if you have a stomach ache, right? This is the nature. If somebody says
Right.
doctor, you're gonna throw any medical question on them because this is how it is. So once I say I'm in, I work in finance and investment and CPA, people will throw questions at me about dental offices, and I have no clue what they're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Even at that time, I didn't know the difference between general dentist, periodontist,
Right.
dentist. For me, dentist is just a dentist, right? Just like
Right.
just like he's a dentist, right?
Yeah.
So when they start asking me those questions, I start to get excited about, oh, how can I help those people, right? So I remember that I asked one of the GPs, who was a good friend of mine. I said, "Hey, do you mind if I come to your office, play on your software?" Because I didn't know the software name at that time. It was Dentrix, EagleSoft,
Yeah.
Software, etc. And he said, "Why you want to come?" I said, "Because I would like to understand the metrics of your office, like how your office is operating. Like I cannot. Your revenue is just revenue, but that revenue is a product of a lot of work happening on the background. So I need to understand what's happening in the background that will lead to $100,000 a month or $200,000 a month, right? So I need to
Yeah.
understand what are you doing here to get to here. So in 2011, I quit my job and I decided to start Synergy Consultant and CPAs that would focus on dentistry. And I
Wow.
started learning about dental offices. I started to go sit in dental offices. I started to go learn about how to run a report from EagleSoft Open Dental. And again, the reason I said I'm lucky because my background was consulting. So now I put the consulting side of understanding how this works. And then I did KPIs and intelligence reports for this company. So I'm using this one. And then I did financial reporting. I'm using this one. So every single hat I had the privilege to wear before I put it together in this organization. And I started to interview dentists, asking them what you don't like about your accountant.
Mm.
I built up a scorecard about accountants, why dentists looking for a change.
Mm.
Because number one is they don't get back to me.
Mm.
They're visiting me once a year. I pay a lot of taxes. If I try to reach him or her, they don't get back to me. unless for 5 days. Sometimes they charge me for every text and every call, so I tend not to call or anything. So I built up my business model around this one, which is everybody, and you probably know that
Yeah.
emails has to be replied back within 5 to 10 minutes, right? No email should sleep in the inbox. Text messages has to be, every single dentist need or have a problem has to be addressed as soon as possible, unless you cannot do it. So you have to inform them, give me a week, give me 2 days, give me 3 days, I'll get back to you. And the reason, as I'm saying this, because my personality is, if I have a pain, I'm calling you, I need to get an answer. Why do I have the pain? Can I see you today? Can I see you tomorrow? But somebody has to comfort me until this pain is addressed. So I started Synergy Consultant and CPAs. And then later on, I started, again, because my background is investment and accounting, I started Investorgy Inc., which is a wealth management company that will help dentists to invest and generate wealth. And then later on, when my clients start to grow wealth, I started Miami Vice Capital, which is a private equity firm that
Miami Vice Capital.
Miami Vice Capital, yes, yes. Because it's the headquarters in Miami.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the reason I moved my annual conference to Miami. That's the reason is we have a lot of investments in Miami related to the Miami Vice. So now that company serve the high net worth individuals in my book, from the dentists who were able to sell, to exit, or I call them the dentists that were able to join the elite league of the NBA of dentists, where like they make
Mm.
over $1 million a year. So those people need to be served in a different way. And because um, I cannot provide the same service for a dentist who takes home 250, and I have a dentist who take home $3 million. So I cannot put both of them on the same type of bucket to serve the same way, right? So you will have to distinguish the service based on the need.
Yeah.
So that's basically my background. So I have my CPA, I have my MBA, I have executive education from Cornell, and I have my CVA, which is Certified Valuation Analyst, that has been used to do valuation for dental offices and some of the M&A activity.
Well, that is an awesome resume.
Thank you so much.
And I did not know all of that, but I certainly have experienced the benefit of all that.
Thank you.
Right? Because every time we sit down and we talk, we're talking about numbers, finances, staff issues, investments, retirement, buying, selling, legal issues. I mean, you name it, right? So you have a very diverse background, and you are um, a super CPA.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
because yeah, that's what we think of as a CPA, as somebody that we give our taxes to, and they, kind of help us maybe on a little bit of tax strategy.
Again, I was lucky.
Yeah,
I was lucky that before being a CPA, I was other person who had different exposures. And again, funny enough, 2011, I paid somebody to file my taxes.
yeah,
2011, sorry, 2010, I paid somebody to file my taxes. 2011, people paid me to file their taxes, right?
yeah,
So between 10 and 11, I didn't know anything about taxes.
right.
Zero, right? But again, I was lucky. Seriously, like if I go
Yeah,
back again, I think life put me in a places where I was able to pick up things. I was lucky. I was lucky. I remember like the first couple of tax returns I was filing, I didn't know how to file it. And I would be cold calling other CPAs. And I was
yeah,
like, hey, uh, I just passed my CPA. I'm starting my office and I'm trying to file this tax return and I don't know how to do it.
yeah,
He spent with me half an hour. I'm willing to pay you to just to show me where the problem is or how can I do it, right? Some of them were very, very open to help me out for no charge, and some of them hang up the phone at me. And uh, but again, I think I was lucky. I'm privileged to serve dentists. I have over 3,000 dentists in my portfolio, and it's it's a privilege.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And, I believe that we all create our own luck. So I know that you've intentionally created that and you work very hard. You play hard too, but you also work hard, right?
I like that.
You work hard and you play hard. And, and it's awesome to be able to, understand where you came from and when you're giving the advice, which most of it I listen to, right? And the one that I don't listen to, it's because I don't understand, I think, the perspective of where you're coming through. And I think part of that is like everything needs to feel right. It's kind of like, as a dentist, you'll tell a patient, oh well, I wouldn't I wouldn't do a root canal on that tooth again. I just extract it and do an implant. But the patient's feeling like, no, I really want to try to do everything I can to save this tooth,
Yeah,
because they have an emotional attachment to keeping
yeah,
their teeth. So it's informed consent, which is kind of the way that our relationship works.
100%.
And then we sometimes will have to clean up the mess later. So, but I appreciate the relationship and I appreciate where it's all coming from. So that's awesome
Thank you.
and extremely valuable. So I'm just curious that when you tell me that journey, what was it that prompted you to get out of corporate, working for like, I don't even know, what is Lockheed Martin? Are they like Fortune 100? Like, I mean, but they're like a major, very profitable, I mean, huge company. And then you just dove into working for yourself. Like what caused you to make that leap?
It's a great question. I remember I took my wife out for dinner and I gave her the option. I said, stay corporate, have a safe bet, good salary, good benefits, or go on my own. And I remember at that time I had in my bank account $27,000 saved. And I had about 60, $70,000 in 401ks, three kids at home. And
And in Northern Virginia is not a lot, right?
it's not a lot
Yeah.
at all. And I told her, should I do the move? And she looked at me, she said, yes, do it. Because I think you're going to be happier.
Mm,
Because you don't like to be controlled by anyone.
hmm
And you like to be on your own. And it was so much politics in corporate America, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have known me that I'm blunt. I say what I want to say at anyone. I don't care about. I'm not gonna say what people want to hear. I'm gonna say what people needs to hear, right? And that's
Yeah.
the way I live all my life with, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna BS somebody to take his business. I'm not gonna BS somebody to get a promotion. I'm not gonna. I'm not. This is not just me. Like I would like to sleep at night, and I feel like I have done the best.
Yeah.
In the meantime, going back again, I always felt that I came from a family that pure academics. Like my dad is a doctor. Most of my uncles are professors and doctors. Cousins are the same thing. So I'm the only one at the age of 14, 15 that I have decided that I don't want to become a doctor.
Mm,
I don't want to be in a room, have to do what I have to do in order to earn money. I want to be on the Wall Street. I want to be on the investment. I wanna live my life in this type of rush, right? Just like
yeah.
I love this. Just like I love the negotiation. I love finding strategic ways to save taxes, strategic ways to grow offices. This is what makes me happy, right?
Yeah. It's what
In
excites
corporate
you.
in corporate America, you do what you have to do and you have to present and then you add your input at the end. And 98% are not going to listen to your input because there is more political game and more
Right.
things that they will have to follow, right? And that is the time I have decided, you know what? I have tried this. It was my dream to work for these corporations. Don't get me wrong. It's a dream to be associated with big names.
Right.
Uh, It's a dream to walk into a room where the average person is earning 10, $15 million in salary,
Yeah.
right? It's nice.
Yeah. You like to hang around with those people.
Exactly, right? People who went to Ivy League school, people who are running big corporation, like I have seen the CEOs and CFOs, those people are literally just like one phone call away from White House or any person they want, right? And those people were sitting next to me, joking together. It's a good feeling.
Yeah.
You know what? I need more.
Right.
I want to help. I want to change. I want to understand. I I don't want to wait until I'm at that time I was young. I don't want to wait like until I'm 52, 53, and then one of those corporate will get rid of me, and then it will be very hard to find a job,
Right.
right? When you are a VP or so, I said, you know what? I want to be my own. Let me run my own business. I think there is a need in this segment, and I will do well. And was my dream, funny enough, to have 50 to 70 dental offices.
Hmm.
That was all my dream,
Yeah.
right? I said if I can get 70 dental offices, I would be making enough money to have a good life and achieve the American dream,
Yeah.
right? So at the end of the day, it was achieving the American dream.
Yeah.
70 dental offices. This was my target.
Exactly. Well, it's, you're the perfect entrepreneur, right? And yeah, you're the perfect entrepreneur. And that's what it's all about. It's like doesn't make a lot of sense on paper, but it's like you got to follow your heart and you figure it out. You just figure it out as you go along, and you stay positive, focused on what you want, and things will work out. And
100%. I think this country will allow anyone to succeed if they have enough discipline, enough belief in themselves, and being able to distinguish themselves a little bit from the crowd.
yes, exactly. And you got to have fun doing it, right? This is the whole reason why you wanted to do this. You didn't want to stay in the corporate structure, politics, that type of thing, which, like you said, hanging out with the high rollers and those types of things is fun for a while, but that's not who you are per se. You wanted to be you.
100%.
Awesome. So, and this is kind of what I wanted to dive into next because one of the things that, um, you know, that happens when people get into business is they have this idea of what they want their entrepreneurial journey to look like and feel like. And a lot of times when they get into that journey, they're going to run into, well, they're 100% of the time going to run into the learning curve, right? Like there's always going to be the learning curve, right? And so one of the things that you and I have always talked about in the name of my case acceptance training was the engineered case acceptance. Like any business has a marketing or sales process. It's just a question of are you intentionally or consciously doing it, or is it happening by accident? Right.
Mhm.
And when I'm working with clients, one of the things that I do, just like you, is I start with, okay, so what's your production? What's your new patients? What's your overhead? Where do you want to go? Like, where are you at and where do you want to go? And a lot of times they don't know these numbers. And I was even talking with someone the other day who, you and I both know, and I was going over these numbers and they were asking me like, where did you get these numbers from? And I'm like, Amr gave them to me like years ago. Like, you don't have these numbers? Like this is my North Star, right? So I just kind of wanted to dive into these numbers. And this is one of the things that when I'm working with different clients, even in the advertising realm, is I want to know, okay, I want to know what is your revenue goal? What are your expenses? Because if I'm doing your advertising for you, I'm one of those items. I'm one of those items that you look at as an expense, but I'm here to help you drive growth. And you actually want to pay me a lot of money because when you're paying me a lot of money and I'm doing my job and we're aligned, you're going to make more money,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
right? And there's certain expenses that drive revenue, and these are expenses you need, right? And we're going to talk a little bit about how you and how I pay attention to these numbers to actually drive growth.
Uh-huh.
right? Because a lot of times I think too, and you could probably attest to this better than I feel like people don't want to pay attention to the numbers because they feel like it's too restricting or it's boring or they actually their eyes start to roll back in their head and they fall asleep, right? But it's kind of like an x-ray. It's like you can't evaluate a situation unless you know what your numbers are, and then you got to continually check in with them to see if you're
I
on track and then
100%
make
agree with you.
adjustments.
Like, I feel numbers, as you said, is an X-ray, and if a dentist is running the office without looking at their numbers, is like placing an implant with no X-ray, no CBCT, they're just going blindly. And what happened is, a lot of dentists get busy with the day-to-day operation, right? So they get to the
Hmm.
office in the morning, they want to look at the schedule, they want to look at this, they want to look at that, but they lose the touch with the staff.
Yes.
They lose the touch where they need to motivate the staff. And they lose the touch of what do I need to do today different to run this office more efficient.
Hmm.
So it's very similar as we never, when we were getting, uh, 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 like when you lose weight or you gain weight, you don't see the change every day. You're gonna
Hmm.
notice after some time, right?
Right.
Or when we were young and we're getting taller, you don't wake up one night and say, "Oh my God, I gained 4 inches," right?
Yeah.
But over time, you're gonna find, "Oh, my pants are short now."
Yeah.
When an office grow or shrink, it happens gradually that dentists don't pay attention because they are not checking the numbers.
Yes. Exactly.
And they
So let
don't understand the KPIs of their numbers. For example, if my new patient count is going down, my recall is going down or staying the same, 6 months from now, I will have less patient to treatment plan. So I'm going to have less production and collection over the following 6 months. So what I'm doing now, it will show up 6 months from now.
exactly. And that's what I refer to as you're paying attention to your lead numbers
Mhm.
and your lag numbers. So
100%.
your lead numbers are like your new patients, your treatment presented, and then your lag numbers are your revenue and your production.
Yes.
So you have to pay attention to both because your lead numbers, if you pay attention and influence those, you'll get your lag. What a lot of doctors do, or a lot of business owners do, is they pay attention to what's in the bank account, which is a history report, right?
100%.
So yeah, so that's important, and paying attention to those things. And I want to talk a little bit about the dental office and the culture and those types of things. But this is something that you shared with me years ago, and this is dated from 2023. But these are still relevant, and I think every industry has their standards as far as what these metrics are. Um, and we'll kind of just kind of walk through these. Now, what I would call these numbers, they're not lead numbers, they're not lag numbers. This is just my term, is their efficiency numbers.
Mhm.
Like they're telling us how efficient are we, and these numbers are always being optimized. But I'm just going to kind of let you walk through this chart and graph and explain it, and then we can kind of wrap on it from there.
Okay. So what happens is if you look at these numbers, those numbers reflect the stats of your office, right? So
Hmm.
an office has a stats. And we go to the office to generate enough money to cover overhead and whatever left, what we're going to take home.
Yes.
So a lot of dentists, they think about how can I grow the top line without thinking what's going to happen after that. So you can have a $4 million office that the dentist is taking home as much as $1 million office. So what is the purpose to have a $4
Right.
million office if I'm not going to take home? So here will come down, the most important question is, what's my take home? And that's what happened is when uh, private equity start to come to the space and they started to look at something called EBITDA, because basically what EBITDA means is how much I will be able to generate money after I pay everybody, including the dentist. So now I would like to build up my office or my building or my financial model so that everybody will take enough money and I'll be able to service my debt. So
Yes.
the overhead that you have here, a lot of them are variable and some of them would be fixed. In your
Variable or fixed.
P&L,
Yeah.
yes, the P&L you can have fixed. So if your office, when you sign a lease, this is a fixed expense.
Hmm.
You cannot change it.
Right.
The only way you can take your rent percentage down is by changing your top line.
Increasing your revenue 100%. Yeah.
Exactly. But when you increase your top line, that means you're going to have to pay lab, you're going to have to pay supplies.
Hmm.
So you have to maintain those in line. Of course, being an endodontist and oral surgeon, you are lucky that you don't have a lab.
Right.
Or oral surgeon now could have a lab, but surgeries didn't have much lab.
Very little. They're not going to be doing crowns and bridges and
Exactly. And then you look at the most expensive item in your P&L is your staff. And really, they are the most expensive item because they are the most important asset you have. So historically, before COVID, I used to look at the compensation as a bulk, 28%, 26%, 27%. After COVID and after the change with compensation in some categories, I broke down the staffing into 3 departments: hygiene, assistant, and front/management.
hmm
And I did a budget for each one of them. So the hygienist or the hygiene department should not exceed 10% of your revenue.
Mm.
Dental assistant shouldn't exceed 8% of your revenue.
hmm
Front desk should not exceed 8 to 10% of your revenue, because it all depends if you are outsourcing any of the front desk work or not, right?
hmm
So what I would think about is here, we need to understand our P&L and we need to understand uh, how the P&L looks like, because your P&L will determine how much you're going to take home,
Right.
right? And a lot of dentists don't look at this. What they care about, how much I'm collecting this month. So you ask a lot of, if you interview 10 dentists, and I usually do this in my um, discovery meeting with a new prospect.
Yeah.
I ask them five questions. How much is your collection last month? They will give it to you. Okay?
hmm
Then ask, how much was your new patient count? They don't know. How much was your recall? They don't know. If the RGP, what percentage of your hygiene was perio? They don't know. Right?
Yeah.
What's your treatment acceptance rate? I don't
That
know.
one I know. Yeah, that's a hard one to calculate.
So if you look at those, so the only thing that dentists will pay attention to is the top side, which is the collection. That's what create a lot of missing opportunities and missing money on the table that you could have done it, or you could have make it or take it home.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And then when you're looking at these target percentage, profit percentage, right? So let's just take the general dentist to 48%, right? That's pre the doctor's salary,
Mhm.
correct?
Yeah.
So if the doctor's salary is on average 30 to 35%, then after that, you're going to have roughly 15% of net profit after paying the doctors. Is that correct?
So again, that's a great question. So usually DSOs are looking for an EBITDA of 22%.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to achieve a 22%, but I think people can achieve 18 to 20%.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And the EBITDA, earning before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization.
Exactly.
So it's a little bit more difficult. You need the balance sheet and the P&L to calculate
Yes.
that
Yes.
number.
Yes. But again, you could always be able to understand your take home by looking at things such as um, what's my overhead? So I had a nice discussion with the dentist last week. Is his associate is asking for 40%.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I ask the dentist, okay, you don't take home 40% yourself to give your associate 40%.
Mm-hmm.
And that associate, if he goes to open up his own office or her own office, they won't achieve a 40% take home.
Mm-hmm.
So your job to educate that dentist that 40% is a win lose or lose win situation. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not gonna work this way.
Yeah. Well, and just along that line, and I've been interviewing associates recently, and I've been interviewing a lot in the last 2 years, and our compensation structure maxes out at 30%,
Uh-huh.
but we don't charge any lab fees.
I
And what
agree.
I've seen is that anybody that's getting 35% is getting charged their lab fees. So I say, rather than go through all the math, let's just do 30% and we don't have to charge
Mhm.
you lab fees. And they're like, always, most of them are fine with that. Of course, if
Uh-huh.
we have a specialist that we pay more, but they're going to produce more.
Yeah.
And then they can produce more faster. So they're definitely worth it in that regards. But yeah, I mean I think for me what this is it just gives you a benchmark in knowing that these are the expenses. And what I've seen happen, and you can tell me what you've seen, is let's just take the total staff compensation, and you've got like a $3 million practice, and the person's like, well, I want to get that staff compensation down to 18% or 20%. What that does, what my experience is that creates stress on the other staff, and it creates a different type of culture.
No, it's not even this is going to be the problem. And the problem is going to be mainly as you are not going to be productive, which means that
Exactly, because it creates stress on the other staff if you are going to be productive.
and you're going to be understaffed. So
Mm-hmm.
again, it's like very similar. Staffing is very similar to lab. Taking your lab down means you don't do restorative work.
Right.
This is not a good way to
No,
do.
it's not good.
Taking marketing down. Taking marketing down means you are killing your growth,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Taking down your staff, that means you are also killing the growth. And then you're going to have something I call it the vacuum risk, which means is you're running very slim on staffing. If one leaves, you have a vacuum. So the business loss will be
Mm-hmm.
way more than if you are proper staffing,
Exactly.
right? So I shouldn't do this. I've seen dentists they want to do the billing themselves. They spend weekends doing this. They spend weekday. Why do you do this?
Why
You
are you
know,
doing that? Yeah.
you can be the dentist. You can be the lawyer. You can be the dad, the mom, the father, the son, the daughter, the sister, the HR, the
Yeah.
billing person, the plumber on the weekends. You can't,
Yeah.
right? So one of the greatest book I have read and changed my life called Strengths Finder.
Strength finder. Mm.
Finder. And Strengths Finder is teaching us how can we leverage our strengths,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And one of the great examples they said is Michael Jordan won the NBA, quit, went to do baseball. Doesn't mean he was great in basketball. That means he would be great in baseball, even though he wanted to do baseball. He played 2 seasons in baseball. 1-0, was horrible experience, right?
Yeah.
But guess what? He went back to the basketball and he won another champion,
Yeah.
right? So the greatest point here is the strengths of Michael Jordan, not he is an athletic person. His strengths being basketball player, right?
Hmm.
Your strengths being a dentist. You need to focus on how can you increase your crowns by 10%, your implants by 5%, your Invisalign by 5 to 10%. How can you improve your perio production at the office? How can you improve your office dynamics? If you do that, the opportunity cost for you doing a cleaning because you're trying to save money on a hygienist, or the opportunity cost for you doing a job to do billing to save $25 an hour, you give up an hour production at $800. So I would
Hmm.
rather you as a dentist focus on how can I produce 800 an hour than how can I save $25 by doing billing work myself.
Right. Exactly. And so what I've done is kind of played with these numbers, meaning so our rent is less than 8%.
Uh-huh,
And as we grow, that gets better and better, right? Because my
uh-huh,
rent, as is said, is a fixed cost, which then also allows us to spend more in other categories like marketing, right?
uh-huh,
So some people look at it like, well, if I have a prime location, and maybe you can answer this question, what you've seen when we were looking at our new location, we were dealing with I had a broker who dealt with specifically finding medical space. I think,
uh-huh,
and I met him at your conference, right?
uh-huh,
And we were talking about different types of location, whether it's retail or office. And we were talking about, well, if you have a location that's got more visibility, then in theory you would spend less in marketing. Well, he said he hadn't seen that to be the case, meaning you could still have a strip mall location, but you're going to spend money on advertising. And it's the same thing like if you look at uh, not all care Aspens.
uh-huh,
I know one of their part of their blueprint was going in strip malls with targets,
uh-huh.
but they still advertise, right? So you're paying a lot in rent. You have this marketing expense, so you can play with those things because you're driving revenue with those numbers, right?
Uh-huh.
Is that something that you advocate or you see effective or workable?
So actually that's a great question. So basically is advertising or marketing is a very broad question or very broad expense.
Subject, yeah.
Yes. And the reason is, if you think about it, is people need to distinguish between marketing for patient flow, which things that you can achieve by having a location in a strip mall. So you're gonna have
Hmm.
traffic.
Yeah.
That traffic will drive hygiene or exams or but maybe the average production of that traffic
That traffic, yeah.
is not what you're looking for.
It's not your target market per se.
Exactly. So you will get a lot of hygiene, but those are very healthy patients who doesn't need any
Mm,
work to be done. So
right.
basically you're just paying hygiene and that's it. And you will be lucky to be able to sell a night guard or an
Right.
Invisalign or a veneer case
Mm,
every now and then. And then you have a targeted marketing strategy that you're going to go after a specific niche of patient that you're trying to serve.
right.
Like to serve patients who are shopping for root canals on the weekend,
Right.
patients who are shopping for all for hybrid case, implants, uh, whatever, right?
Yeah. We do
Invisalign
emergencies. So one of
or
the primary categories is emergencies, right?
exactly. So that's a totally different
Mm,
type of marketing, right? So it all depends about your philosophy. So you can be in a shopping mall, you could be heading somewhere, but you're going to need still to do marketing. But your marketing strategy will determine the type of demographics or patient flow that will walk to your office. And then you're going to distinguish yourself by branding yourself. Because this is something else that people don't understand. There's a big difference between marketing and branding. Right?
Yeah.
Coca-Cola doesn't need marketing. Everybody knows Coca-Cola is. If you stop any person, any place in the world and ask that person about Coca-Cola, they're going to go Coca-Cola. But why still Coca-Cola or Pepsi spend money by hiring athletes and hiring celebrities and doing commercials? This is a branding.
Yeah.
So they need to associate themselves as a brand with some specific niche.
Yeah.
And that's when dental offices need to brand themselves.
Mm-hmm.
What would you like to brand yourself? The emergency dentist, the veneer dentist, the oral form, the implant, the denture, cheap denture, that you can solve people's problems,
Yeah.
right? And once you brand yourself, marketing will follow or flow will follow because you start to distinguish yourself as a brand that people will reach out or you're getting referrals from other people from you. So marketing is very deep science.
Yeah.
You cannot solve it this way. Otherwise, Harvard and Yale and Stanford would have shut down the marketing department and let people just go figure it out in themselves, right? People go get PhD in marketing.
Yeah.
Marketing is a science as
Yeah.
dentistry, right? So we cannot discount marketing. We cannot discount what
Yeah.
marketing means. So this is, I always tell people is marketing is a deep science. Like really people get PhDs in marketing. People spend 8 years to get PhD in marketing, same as when you spend 8 years to become a dentist.
Right. Yeah, and what I kind of distinguish it to make it clear for me, and you and I, we know a lot of the same people that are doing this is you can't fix a business with advertising.
No.
And a lot of times dentists or business owners are trying to do that, but advertising is very specific, meaning marketing. I have a marketing major. I didn't get a master's, but I minored in professional selling. So it was marketing and selling. And marketing, the general definition is the packaging of a product or service and bringing it to the marketplace.
Uh-huh.
So something that's part of our marketing is actually our hours, because patients want to come in when they're not working at school. So
Uh-huh.
if we don't have evening hours or early morning hours, our advertising actually doesn't work as well because they can't come in when they want to come in. That's part of your brand, that's part of your marketing, right? And your advertising is like, I when I was younger, I used to be like, why does McDonald's advertise? Everybody knows where
Yeah.
McDonald's is. I mean, you drive by it all the time, but they're always advertising
Uh-huh.
because they still need to be top of mind to drive people into their restaurants. It's the same thing here. It's you're being on top of mind to drive people in. Now, the way that I've played with these numbers too is that when I'm interviewing a client, before they make an investment, whether it's with me for coaching or for advertising, I want to make sure they have the capacity to deliver. Otherwise, they're going to fail.
100%.
And so, knowing that you have the staff in place, you have good staff in place, and then you make that investment in advertising. And what I've experienced is initially for the first few months or maybe even 6 months to a year, those costs may be higher. And then they settle out over time because you have to invest more in your marketing and invest more in your staff, especially after COVID. After COVID, it was absolute, the hygiene salaries went from, they went up by 25% basically overnight.
Yeah.
And then you see a lot of these doctors doing their own hygiene. And it's like, well, because I don't want to pay a hygienist, but they're actually cutting their marketing flow off and a lot of other things, right? So my point being is that you can play with these numbers, but at the end of the day, you're beginning with the end in mind, and you're shooting for that number of a net profit of somewhere between 15 and, if you hit that golden goose 22%, great. But it's going to ebb and flow based on your growth. And you've had this conversation with me, like, well, stop paying so much attention to to your expenses and just make more money, Jeff, right?
Yeah,
Which we've done, but we've had to make that investment in the staff and in the advertising, in our facility, and all those things, in the technology, because the technology is part of your marketing, right? People
100%.
love the dentists love a high tech office, the staff love a high tech office. So this is wildly helpful to refer back to, and then yes, we could dive into these deeper in terms of how uh, production procedure mixes break down and how staff percentages break down and how the lab and supplies and all those things, but that's for another day. So the message is, it doesn't matter what business you're in, these numbers apply, and you need to pay attention and begin with the end in mind. And you want to spend a lot. You want to spend, it's not how much you spend on marketing or advertising is one of my main points. It's always just a percentage of revenue. I would love to spend $100,000 a month on advertising. That means according to this, that I'm making 500. I'm making what is that?
Yeah,
A million,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So that's the point. Is the more you spend, the more you're going to make. It's just managing that growth, and so you can kind of play with these numbers as you're going. So
100%. Marketing actually also has a very distinguished part, which is, I call it the diminishing return,
mm,
which means is your first 2-3% spent on marketing, the yield will be greater than the other 3, 4, 5%, right? Because your acquisition costs will start to go higher, so you are not getting the same return. So that's why people need
mm.
to understand, what's my diminishing return? What's my optimum point where I need to stop spending money? Because even if I spend more money in marketing, it's not yielding me anything, because this is
Yeah,
the market dynamics.
we call that the saturation point
Yes.
of each marketing medium. So that's where we kind of look at, okay, so you're going to do your Google, it's going to have a saturation point. Then you can look at social, then you can look at mail, you can look at other forms of media for a general office or to invest, and then they start all working together. Right, that's
Yeah.
the whole point, is to get them all working together. So
Yeah. And then the
awesome.
other part, as you mentioned, uh, when you run marketing, or when you do your marketing, you spend money. The phone will ring. We need to check the conversion rate.
Yeah.
So how many phone calls was converted to patients walking to the door?
Mm-hmm.
That's the first rule. Let's say you have 10 calls, you converted 8, so that's 80% conversion. So 8 patients walk to the office. Those 8 patients did an exam, and you proposed treatment for them. How many of those patients accepted the treatment?
Mm-hmm.
That's the treatment acceptance rate.
Yes.
Okay. This patient walked out of the door, booked or not booked. If they didn't accept the treatment, you need to fight for their second hygiene in 6 months. So
Mm-hmm.
that's your recall rate.
Right.
Okay, that's the first one.
Hmm.
Okay. If patient accepted the treatment, or they did not accept the treatment, they become production but no collection yet. So what's my collection rate?
Yes.
So those are the 4 variables that dentists need to pay attention to in order to determine, does marketing working or not.
And that's a great point. So let's review those again. So you've got your I call it leads. So you've got your new patient calls or leads to new patients seen, right?
Yeah, so that's the conversion.
Yeah. And that's conversion. And then you did your exam, you presented treatment. So you have treatment accepted
Yeah,
versus treatment presented
yeah,
versus treatment accepted.
yeah. So it's going to be the treatment acceptance rate,
Mm-hmm. And
and
then
then
you
your
have
recall.
and so that's usually like percentage of patients on recall, or is that like how many patients are scheduling their recall?
Yeah, so let's say that I'm 1,000, like I have a 1,000 active patient, right?
Mm-hmm.
Usually dental offices tend to lose about 20% a year,
Yeah.
15 to 20%, right? So that's about 150 patients a year, 200 patients a year if you are 1,000. That's about 12 to 15 or 18 patients a month on average. How can I shrink it? Because if I'm losing 15 patients a month on average, that means I need to get a 15 new patient to break even,
Yeah.
not to grow. In order for me to understand how many new patients I need to get, I need to know how many patients I'm losing. And that will be coming from the recall percentage that I have.
Yeah.
Dentists need to pay attention to the recall.
Makes sense.
And then if that patient come and doing all the production, doing all the crowns, and I'm happy because they're booking, that means I paid the lab, I paid the supplies, I paid the assistant, I paid the hygienist, I paid everybody except myself yet. I will get paid when the production become collection,
Right.
right? So
Yeah.
that's the last and most important variable that dentists need to pay attention to is what's my
Collection
collection
percentage.
rate? Exactly.
Okay, good. Perfect. So, what do you see as some of the most common financial mistakes that practice owners are making?
Too much cash at the bank that's not invested. Dentists need to invest their money because money makes money. That's the rule number one. And if you'd like to become one day being generating passive income and supplementing your dental income, you have to invest your money as soon as possible. Real estate is not an investment asset. Real estate is an income generation asset. So dentists who are in the 30s and 40s, they should not buy real estate to rent because 5 to 6% return in your real estate is not enough to grow your wealth.
Mm.
You need to invest your money. You need to invest your money as a pro. You need to invest your money as, I'll call them the big boys. You say,
Yeah.
like if real estate is a good investment asset, why Warren Buffett didn't put money into real estate,
Yeah.
right? Why Elon Musk doesn't own real estate and rent it? Why Jeff Bezos doesn't own real estate, right? So even the greater people who made their fortune out of real estate, like even Donald Trump, like as he doesn't own real estate. He
They develop.
developed real estate.
Yeah.
Big difference. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So developers, you make money because developing become a business.
Yeah.
If you are in the rent business to collect rent, you will never become rich,
Right.
right? So maybe would be a good strategy when you hit the 60, 65 years old. You have $5, $10 million. Then you can convert your assets into rentals to collect rent or income.
Yeah.
Then yes. But if you are 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, even 50, 55, collecting rent is not going to make you rich, right?
Mm.
That's another mistake I've seen.
Yeah.
A lot of dentists, they don't understand how to grow offices because they're trying to save a penny. So we call them the penny smart, the pound foolish
Yeah.
of the British. I believe nobody can grow unless we take a risk and we invest. And I always tell dentists is a lot of you took big risk by becoming a dentist, taking $600,000 loan. You could have taken the easy route to become a hygienist, right? Or a nurse practitioner,
Yeah.
or something that doesn't require $500,000 debt. But you took the route to become a dentist. You took the risk by taking a student loan to become a dentist. You took the risk by taking a bank loan to set up your office. How come you don't want to take a risk on hiring proper people,
Yeah.
right? How come you don't want to take a risk by hiring the right advisors? How come you don't want to spend money on marketing? How come you don't want to spend money on developing your staff and yourself? So those things doesn't add up. Where I found the dentist doesn't want to spend a couple of $1,000s, but he or she is jeopardizing their $1 million plus empire, right? Because if you spend $500,000 in your degree and at least $700,000 in a dental office, that's $1.25 million investment.
Now it's time to continue investing in the things that are going to grow your asset, which is your skill set.
Guess what? When they ask the CEO of Microsoft, what is the most valuable asset you have and what is the most risk that you are worried about? He said, my nightmare happens every single night when I know that all my assets left my office and went home to sleep. And,
Yes.
and I'm wondering if they're going to come back again in the morning or not.
Right.
And we have seen recently Meta or Facebook are paying $100 million to attract talent from other companies.
Mm.
Yesterday, they offered somebody $1 billion package over 3 years to acquire that talent.
Wow.
So that shows us that if you're gonna go buy a CEREC machine, you're gonna go buy a CBCT, you're gonna buy Futona, you're gonna buy, if you're trying to do like digital workflow for your implant and trying to go tech, and you don't want to invest money on your people, how are you gonna operate it?
Right.
Right? You need the right people, the right mentality to operate that technology for you to make more money on the run. So on the long run, you will make money if you invest on the right people. In the short run, you're gonna lose money,
Yeah.
right? But this is part of being an entrepreneur. We know I'm gonna be losing money. I gave up my corporate income to build up this business. So I know over a year, I'm not gonna make the same amount of money. In 2 years, maybe yes, maybe no. 3 years, maybe yes, maybe no. But over the runway of running the business, I'm gonna make the money, right? Dentists need to believe on the same thing, is they need to invest because you cannot get until you give. So you have to give to get. You
Yes.
need to become specialized. You need to understand. You need to invest in yourself. Like I've seen a lot of dentists. They don't go to CEs. They don't hire the right people. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, you get what you pay for.
Yeah, exactly. And
And
that's
the
true.
best, I had a dear client of mine, without mentioning names, grew up his oral surgery offices and exited at $40 million. And he hired a platform, staff, invested in his people to the point like even during COVID, he said, I'm paying everyone as if there's no COVID, even if I would end up broke. Those are my people, those are my family. I promise to take care of them, right?
Yeah.
Funny enough, he sold his business in December 31st, 2020, in the peak of COVID,
Mm.
because his staff hold him during the hard time. And when the DSO, or like when the private equity were doing the due diligence, they found like he lost 0 staff during COVID,
Wow.
right? Because they stuck behind him, not because he was paying them, but because he gave them that impression. I will always have your back, right?
Yeah.
So I asked him, what was the secret? How did you hire those people? He said, Amr, you will never get a steak for the price of burger. If you want a steak, you need to pay for the steak.
Yeah.
If you want a burger, you can get the burger experience at lower cost. I went for the steak, and they helped me to sell at this dollars amount. We need to invest.
Yeah.
We need to invest in people. We need to believe on a change. Dentists need to believe that everything is a science. Accounting is a science. Investment is a science. Marketing is a science. IT is a science. You cannot do it all. But the most challenging part that I feel bad for dentists is everyone in the office, beside them being a dentist or a hygienist, they didn't go to school to do the job they have to do. So there is no
Hmm.
school for office managers.
No school for that. Yeah.
Maybe some school for dental assistant, but it's not. But
But
most of the dental assistant,
they don't know how to assist when they get out of dental assistant school.
exactly. And a lot of them didn't even go. So they are dealing with people with less caliber than them and less education than them and less motivation than them. And they're expecting that those people need to operate at their capacity. And that's what I call it the perception gap.
Right.
Because if these people as good as you and they have the same drivers as you, they will never work for you. They have been now
Right. They'd have their own business.
dentists, or they became a dentist, right?
Yeah. Or they become a dentist. Yeah.
So your job as a leader to rally and champion them so that you can get the maximum output out of them because you know the calibers that you are dealing with, right? You will
Yeah.
never be able to get an Ivy League production out of a dental assistant or out of front desk. You cannot.
Exactly.
Okay? So this is the true fact, right? So what you can do is you can educate them by hiring the right advisors who can guide them to give you what you are missing. But don't think that you're going to be 8 hours at the back drilling teeth and expecting these people will get developed in their own outside and give you what you're looking for.
Exactly. And that's what I've seen, that's what I've seen that we've had to do to grow and keep and retain staff. And when we're hiring staff, a lot of times there's two reasons why they're looking for a new job. Because I always ask, what are you looking for that you're not getting at your current job?
Mhm.
Number one, it's the hours because they're not busy enough. And then number two, it's just they don't like the culture and they try to say it in a very tactful way. And that's because when you're working with people that aren't motivated, when you're working with people that aren't working as a team, it creates a toxic culture full of gossip, and
Yeah,
people don't, and that's a top down thing. So that's great advice.
100%.
Great. So this has all been very insightful. So let's kind of wrap this up here with uh, some some good advice for dentists that want to feel more confident in their numbers. What would you say is your biggest piece of advice for dentists that want to feel more confident in their numbers?
They're going to know their numbers first.
Like look at the practice management software.
They have to look at the numbers. They have to discuss the numbers with their office. They need to have huddle meetings.
Morning huddles, right?
Yes, at least once a week.
Yeah, we do them every day, but yeah,
Yeah. People need to know what do you expect out of them. Uh, your front desk, if they don't know your new patient count, your recall, your collection, that means you are not spending enough time with them, right?
yeah,
So you and your team need to work together to understand your KPIs, how to improve it, build up a bonus system that will motivate everybody. I believe in win-win situations. I don't think you can walk into your office manager, your assistant, and hygienist and say, guys, I need $40,000 from you this month.
yeah,
Okay, deep down they say like, why would I care?
yeah.
Right?
I'm gonna get
So,
my paycheck anyways.
exactly. But if you say, I'm going to give you $100 for every Invisalign, $100 for every removable will become fixed,
Yeah.
$100 for every 10 night guards, $100 for every 10 fluoride, $100, $100, $100, $100, $100,
Hmm.
right? So now you're giving them a motivation.
Yeah.
And when they get motivated, they produce more. And
Yeah.
if you cannot motivate them with money, then you have to find what is their trigger. Because
Right.
every person has a trigger,
Yeah.
right? Some people are motivated by money. Some people are motivated by good words. Some people are motivated by empowering them. Some people are motivated by doing good in general, right? And some
Yeah.
people, you will never motivate them. No matter what you're going to do to them, they will never be motivated. And those are the people that I will try to replace as soon as possible because they're not driven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
So,
not gonna fit.
and I will call like, like there's the Tom Brady people who are getting motivated by silverware, right? So he
Did you
wanna,
say silverware? Like
yeah,
the
rings,
like
winning,
rings? Yeah. Gotcha.
winning, right?
Mhm.
So a lot of people get motivated for just winning. They would like
Yeah.
to win,
The
right?
win. They be
Yes,
the best.
be the best. Like if, and actually the best industry that drives this out of people are the car business,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So when they put the name on the board every
Yeah.
month and say the race will start this month, let's see who's gonna have more cars sold this month, right?
Yeah.
So they put everybody in this mentality. It's not about money anymore. It's about winning, right?
Yeah.
And this is the winning mentality. How can I win? How can I see my name on the board every month? How can I see myself the winner every month? All right. The winning. And this is the best mentality that you can work with. That
Yeah.
people are driven by winning, but winning is associated by money as well, right?
Yeah.
And this is a good thing. So if people are motivated just by money, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Like people who are motivated by winning, because winning and money are married together. So
Yeah.
that is the other ways that people need to look at.
I like that. I like that. Well, that's awesome. I really appreciate your time and your insight, and I always appreciate your knowledge and your support. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
You
And
know,
so, for anybody that watches it that wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
they can go online to isynergycpa.com or they can Google my name, Amr Alian. Uh, on our website, they can schedule an appointment. They can email me.
Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes for
Yeah,
sure.
sure, sure. But again, I would advise everybody and every dentist to believe that in order for you to grow, you have to invest and you have to let it go,
Yeah,
right? You will never grow until you let it go. You have to empower people, you have to delegate, and everybody has a runway. Our career is like a runway, right? And every day our runway gets shorter. So we have to make the right decision so that at the end of the runway we can take off and retire easily.
yeah.
Because there's no way to do U-turn and come back on the runway just again.
No.
If you hit the end of the runway and you didn't take off,
What? Yeah.
you are
What?
slamming to the end of
What?
the highway,
Yeah. Once you
right?
hit the gas, you're going, or you're
That's
not.
it.
You're
So
going or you're crashing.
we need to build up our momentum. So the more that we fly, the more like to take off, I need momentum. That momentum comes in by doing the right things every day and understanding that we need to have a discipline and you cannot quit or forget about one item that you have to do every day. And one of the most important one is you go to the gym, you weight yourself, you look at your calorie count, you look at your carb count, you gotta look at your new patient count and your recall count and everything, right?
Exactly.
It doesn't
That's why
happen by
we.
itself.
That's why we huddle every day. So great advice. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, and I'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you so much, sir. Have a great day. And thank you for all your support team for organizing this podcast. And looking forward to hear from you soon.
You're welcome.
Thank you.